last time he was 5.25 pounds. I am going to try to train Haley. Let's see if it can be done.
We're not blueberries, you better get fast.
We're teaming up to take over the world and tell people how awesome.
Here we go! Today I will be speaking with Courtney, the creator behind the YouTube channel The Trained Ferret, which currently has almost 30,000 subscribers. Because of her high-profile ferret training channel, Courtney and her ferret Joey were recruited to audition for America's Got Talent in 2015. Joey appeared in several North Carolina Veterinary Medical Association commercials, and he was also photographed for an advertisement for Home Depot. Courtney is also currently a part of the American Ferret Association Education Committee, and today I wanted to talk to Courtney about her last ferret, Joey, her current ferret, Simon, as well as hear about her experience training ferrets and what advice she might be able to offer some beginners like me. Hi, Courtney.
Hello.
Welcome to the first interview hosted by the Modern Ferret.
I am honored to be the first.
What got you into training in general? Because you have quite a background specifically in training animals and training, you just like to train everything. So how did that start?
Yes, so when I was a kid, I remember just training the family dog. My parents didn't train the animals. I was a gymnast when I was a kid, and I think I just was like, oh, well, I learned something. I bet I could teach the dog something. So I just kept doing it, and I was self-taught. I just really enjoy it. And then when I got older, I coached gymnastics, so I taught kids. In my real world job, I train adults. So I've trained ferrets, I trained a betta fish, and so I just train everything.
Wow. Yeah, that's right. You do have the betta fish. I forgot about that. He knows, or she, I don't know if it's a boy or girl. Your betta fish knew quite a bit too, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, quite a bit, meaning he could follow a target. He could follow like a little target stick and go through a hoop and a tunnel. So I thought that was good.
That is impressive for a betta fish, I think. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. So what was the first ferret you had? Because it wasn't Joey, was it?
Eddie was my first ferret, and he was a Marshall ferret, and I learned pretty much the first day I had him that he was deaf. And I was like, that's fine. And I still trained him too. Like, he learned hand signals and it was no problem. So yes, Eddie was my first ferret.
Do you notice like an intelligence difference between the Marshall ferrets versus a privately bred ferret?
Well, it's hard to say because my only Marshall ferret was Eddie, who was deaf. So I have not worked with a hearing Marshall ferret. So it's kind of hard to answer that.
What got you into ferrets? Like, it sounds like you've had a variety of animals growing up and interest in training, and then eventually you landed on ferrets. Like, what brought you there?
Okay, so I have had gerbils, and I was like, okay, I'm ready for something a little bit more long-lived, because they only live a couple years. And so I was like, okay, what do I want? Do I want a dog? Do I want a cat? And I was like, no, and I kind of ruled out the dog because I didn't have like a fenced in yard, and I can't stand when you take them on walks and they will not poop for you when it's hot, cold, raining, whatever it is. And then a cat, I was like, I don't know. And my boyfriend at the time was like, I'm not really into cats, and they scratch your furniture and all this and that. I was like, oh. And then I was like, wait, I love ferrets because I had babysat one when I was a teenager. And I remember I loved that ferret so much, so I started researching, and I was like, yes, that's it. I'm getting a ferret, and then that's what I did. So. Wow.
And then, so did you get Eddie from just like a regular pet store, or was he an adopted one, or?
I got him from Petco. So I got him from Petco. I remember it was like about to snow, and where I live, that is really rare. So I was like, I have to get the ferret before it snows. So I just remember that.
This is an emergency!
Yeah.
So regarding Joey, what was his personality like?
Joey, he was super sweet. He would work for me, meaning like with his training, not really working, but he would, he was very easy with like food rewards. He would try anything, and that is so rare in most ferrets. So he was like, ooh, something new. I'll try that. Sure, Mom, whatever. And then he would decide, do I like it or not? But he was always willing to take food for me at any time. And so that was really helpful for training and filming videos. So he loved to do tricks. He could learn very complex things. And he was great. Like, I loved him so much. So he's a good boy. And so are you.
How complex did the tricks get? Like, if we could have like a range of like, what was the first thing you taught Joey? And then honestly, tell me about the fun ones in between. And then what was like the hardest thing he ever learned, do you think?
The first and kind of easiest is like standing up, because they naturally do that. So that was pretty easy to teach. He learned a lot of like obstacle course type stuff. So I taught him things individually, jump over things, go through tunnels, go through weave poles, and then he learned to do them all connected together. And that wasn't as hard as I thought it would be, because in his mind he was just doing one thing at a time, which was great. The hardest thing was the basketball trick, where he just took a little bitty fuzzy ball and picked it up and put it in a basketball hoop. It was difficult because, one, what do ferrets want to do? They want to stash things. Okay, you got to teach a ferret to pick something up and not run off with it. So that's something. And teaching him to drop it. I had to actually teach the trick backwards. So I had to hand him the toy over the hoop, and he would kind of mouth at it, and then I would drop it and go, oh, and click, and yay! And he's like, well, okay. And then I did that over and over, and he got it. Like, if I grab this and drop it, then that's what she wants. And so then I finally got him to take it from the floor, pick it up, and drop it. That took weeks and weeks to get, but once he got it, no problem. But the interesting thing with a ferret, when training him, I learned, is that I had to give it to him in the same spot next to the hoop. Because if I put the ball on the other side of the hoop, he would pick it up and still turn away. Like, he would go the opposite direction. Because he learned, I pick it up here and I drop it in.
Oh.
Yeah. He's like, I picked it up and I put it down. So
where's my treat?
It was like interesting how his brain worked. He's like, I know I pick it up and I turn and I drop it. But the hoop was kind of abstract.
So you've got this ferret, Joey, and you're training him to do all this stuff. Did you start the YouTube channel, then you're like, I'm going to train him to do stuff? Or were you like, I have this ferret that learns stuff, and I'm going to start? Like, how did that happen?
Okay, so the story with YouTube is that I didn't want to do YouTube or any social media whatsoever. That wasn't the plan. So my vet thought it was so cool that I trained my ferret. And so I always was trying to share videos of Joey doing his tricks with my vet. So my vet is amazing, but not good with technology sometimes. And so I would send the video and he'd be like, it's sideways, or I can't get it to work. And so I finally just was like, okay, I'm just going to throw it on YouTube and send him the link. And so I made Joey the Trained Ferret. I named it in like 30 seconds. I put a video up, sent it to my vet, and that's all it was for. And then I kept putting more tricks on there. And then people were like, oh, that's cool. How'd you do it? And then it became a thing. It wasn't supposed to be a thing, but it just kept growing. And so I just kept doing it. I didn't know people would be like so interested in it.
This is perfect because so America's Got Talent reached out to you, and it was because they saw your YouTube channel, right?
Yes.
So tell me the whole story of that whole thing.
I don't know if you want the whole story. That would be a very long time of me talking. But basically, they reached out to me, a recruiter from their show, and they talked to me and were like, hey, we love what you do. Would you mind auditioning for the show? And I was like, really? Why? Because I was like, well, he can't win the show. I outright told him, like, well, we can't win, like, because, you know, he only knows, like, 20 things, you know, we can't have much routine. She's like, oh, but it's cute and it's fun, and we'd really like to have you. We'll, you know, take care of you and pay for your travel. I'm like, well, okay. So I decided I only had, like, 3 weeks maybe before I was going to be on stage. So I was like, okay, put a routine together, practice, practice, practice. And with a ferret, because they're so distractible, Joey was especially distractible. I had to take him to a dance studio they would let me practice there, a carpet store, they let me practice there. I was just trying to take him to places he wasn't used to, because ferrets, they're like, wow, this is amazing and so cool, I must investigate it. So that was the big thing. He knew the tricks. It was getting him to focus in a different location. So we went, we had a great time. All the people on America's Got Talent treated us so well. Can't say anything bad about that. It was just a very long day, and for Joey, I was so proud of him because he got up on the stage with the lights and the audience and everything, and he did his tricks, and I was beyond proud. And the judges X'd us off because, he couldn't have music because the music was vibrating the stage, which would scare him. He couldn't have a lot of loud noise. So I get why he was X'd off, but I was like, he did his tricks! And I didn't even care. I was beaming, and I think Howie Mandel was like, how do you think you did? And I'm like, he did his tricks! I'm so proud! And the audience started clapping. It did not make air. They cut our section, but I had a great time. I think I was the happiest person to ever get X'd off because my goal did his tricks, and he did. So if he had turned around and pooped on stage, he probably would have made air. But since he did his tricks and was kind of, slow, they're not like dogs. They don't do tricks super fast, and they, take a minute to eat their treat. They're not 1, 2, 3, 4 tricks in a row. So I just don't think the judges had an idea of what it means that a ferret is on stage with lights and people and all this and focusing on the tricks. So I don't know. I had a great time. But yeah, it was great. It was a great experience, and Joey slept for 2 days after because it wore him out so much.
So you have a different ferret now.
Yes.
Can you introduce us all to this ferret?
Yes. Simon is 2 years old, and he is really big.
Are you sure that's not fat?
Well, every now and then. But yes, he is ginormous for a ferret. He is 5 pounds. I think last time he was 5.25 pounds. He is not overweight. I get that question a bit. He is just big overall. He's got great mass to him. That's what the ferret judges said to me when I took him to a show. He is just muscular and big. But I don't want people to be confused and think he's overweight or something, because that's not the case. He is privately bred by Novel Beginnings Ferretry in Pennsylvania. And you're a good boy. He was born in 2020, so 2020 was a good year for me. I got a ferret baby. Let's see. What else do we need to know about you? He is different from Joey, personality wise. He is, I would say, he's very intelligent, but with complicated tricks, sometimes he gets a little frustrated. So I have to kind of stop, do some tricks he knows really well, try again, see if he'll do it. And it's funny, they communicate. You have to learn your own ferret. They communicate in different ways, but he'll just kind of stop and look away, if he doesn't get it, or he'll just run off I don't know what you want. And so it's important to realize when your animal is frustrated, because it's kind of like a subject in school you're really bad at, or it's just really hard to you. For me, it was chemistry. I did not get chemistry. I was constantly frustrated. Did I want to go to chemistry class? No, I hated it. So it's kind of the same with your animal. If they're always frustrated, they're not going to want to do it. So just keep that in mind and go, okay, we don't know this right now. We'll break it into smaller steps, but before we break it into smaller steps, let's do some things like roll over or like your more basic tricks. So it's kind of important to know your ferret really well, and you just learn that over time being around them and training them.
What tricks does Simon know at this point?
Okay, so Simon, he knows, I'm giving him some salmon oil. He knows how to stand up, roll over, how to go in his kennel, how to go through tunnels and hoops, and he knows to play a tiny little kid piano. He has a great recall, which is just coming when called, which is one of the most important tricks to train. And he knows scent detection. Think of dogs that do scent detection for police, for drugs or bombs, things like that. Well, obviously, if you're training your pet at home, you're not going to have illegal drugs in your house or a bomb. So I just use the dog scent kits that you can buy. There's different ones, and I had my vet okay to use the anise essential oil. I always get any essential oils or anything they're sniffing out approved by my vet, and that is what he's trained to sniff, so he knows to find that. And what else do you know? You know a lot.
Great. So, Courtney, can you explain what clicker training is for all of us to understand?
Yeah, so clicker training is just a method of training where you teach your animal that a click means good job. Obviously, they don't speak, so it's a way to communicate with them when you're training, as just a way to tell them instantly, that's what I want, and then food will follow. And so the first thing you have to do is what trainers say, charge your clicker. So basically, you click and then give your animal a treat right away. So,
like a frozen blueberry.
Yes. Haley has blueberries as her treat, and so I'm going to work with Haley.
Yes, I do.
All right.
Yes.
Get your blueberry. Pop it down.
I'm glad I brought a lot.
Okay. So, to kind of show people an example of this, I am going to try to train Haley. Let's see if it can be done. All right, so in my mind, I'm thinking of a behavior that I want to train Haley to do. She has no idea, and basically she's just going to start offering up different behaviors, and I'm going to click when she's kind of getting close, and then I'll get more picky until she finally does what I want. Every time I click, she gets to give herself a treat. So, are you ready?
I'm excited. I'm excited to eat my blueberries. I'm very treat motivated, in case you were wondering.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. All right. Did I get? No. Okay. I thought maybe it's not easy. Okay. Oh. What did I do?
It's your treat.
Oh, right. This is so fun. Okay. Something with hand movement, I think. Okay. Hands around there. Do you ever laugh when you have food in your mouth and it hurts your jaw? That's what I'm doing right now. Alright, my blueberry delay. If I was a ferret, you wouldn't delay that. Okay. I'm thinking there's something around here.
I'm getting more picky now.
That's good. What did I do? What did I do? I feel so much empathy for ferrets.
This is a good technique to really understand why they may not understand you. Because they don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, it's something around here. I'm trying. I feel like Simon would be like, oh, done. I got this. We should have a show, Who's Smarter Than a Ferret, instead of Who's Smarter Than a Ferret. It's something with the hands. Oh, do you like that? That's interesting. Running out of blueberries, so better get fast. Oh my god, can you see the blueberry I have on me? Okay. We're getting somewhere.
That's it. Just to put your hands on your shoulders.
Oh, okay.
So see?
Got it.
You learned it, and this is how ferrets and any animal that you clicker train learn, because you're just slowly getting them there. You're guiding them with the noise. And if you do this with people and take turns, you'll start to understand your timing. You'll start to understand maybe why your animal is confused or frustrated. It's just really good to practice on people before you start working with animals, just to work on your timing. And I know we are talking on the internet, so my timing probably is not perfect, but she still got it. So, Haley was putting her hands on her shoulders. That's what I wanted her to do. Once she consistently gets it, okay, then I would make a hand signal while she's doing it at the same time. So she would go and put her hands on her shoulders, and I would click, but I would pair it with something. So I don't know what that would, it could be anything. Any signal you want it to be. Or you can even do a verbal cue. However, I have found in my experience that verbal cues don't work as well as hand signals with ferrets. Recalls seem to be okay. Yeah. But I usually try to do both. So then she would do it. Will you put your hands on your shoulders? So I would go, Haley! And then I would do some signal. And then she would put her hands on her shoulders. I would click. Yay! And once she consistently knows what my signal is and she does it, and I clicked reward, she doesn't need the clicker anymore. She knows the behavior.
So you did a hand signal and the clicker and a sound. Like, good box, for like going to the litter box or something, right? So you still have two things left over. When you take away the clicker, you still have the unique hand gesture and the noise out of your mouth. Is that right? Got it.
And so once the animal consistently understands, oh, this signal and noise means this, and they can do it, you don't need the clicker. You can, what we say, phase it out.
I just feel I have so much. It's so sad that you can't. Sometimes you can't empathize truly unless you're like in their shoes. But like now, I have a newfound respect just for if I were to teach a ferret. I would be like, I remember how hard that was. And all you had me do was this. And I'm going to be like, hey, throw that basketball and twirl around this thing and jump on one leg. And why aren't you getting it yet? You know?
It's really important for people to understand. It takes time. We live in this instant gratification society, and ferret training is not that. So you need to just realize it's about bonding with your animal. It's not about how many things they can learn and how fast they can learn it. You're not doing it for that. I just really want people to understand it's not about the end trick that they've learned. It's about the process and communicating with your pet. And that's just something I feel strongly about.
Do you feel, or actually you may have told me this, that if people like watch your videos and they want to train their ferret, don't you oftentimes get people being frustrated that it's not working?
Yes,
right?
I'll have people be like, this doesn't work. And then I'll write back, well, how long did you try it? 2 days. And I'm like, okay, well, that is your problem.
Yeah. How long do you typically train a trick? And I know that's such a broad term because you've got rolling over, or you've got standing up, and then you've got throwing a basketball into a hoop. So they're very different. So let's say for a beginner, how long do you think it would take somebody to train standing up on command?
So standing up and rolling over are two of the easier tricks that I recommend people start with. Of course, after box training and bike training. But those are the easiest ones because they're natural behaviors. Your ferret can probably learn that, I would say, in a couple weeks. I only suggest training your ferret 5 to 10 minutes tops a day. And you are going to take time to teach your ferret how to learn, because they don't know what you're doing. Like, they don't understand that they need to pay attention and stay with you. So, charging the clicker where you click and immediately give the treat. Oh, okay, she's got the clicker thing out. I know what we're doing. And they'll start to learn over time, oh, we're doing tricks. But until you get to that point, expect your ferret to run around and have no idea what's going on. That's just normal. That people see my ferrets on YouTube and think that's what it's like, and it's not. In the beginning, I actually have some footage of Simon in the very beginning learning clicker training, so you can see that he ran off too, so it's no big deal.
It's normal. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So if you, and I'm asking this from personal experience because I know with my boys that I used to have, I taught them standing up. It's like they almost do that automatically, so that one's like crazy easy. And then the rolling over, I did that one, but I stopped there. What do you think would be the next thing if I had them? What would be the next thing to teach them after they've mastered those two?
A recall. A recall is so important. Now, I didn't necessarily use a clicker with a recall, and I have a video explaining how to do that, but a recall is important for safety. You need your ferret to be able to come to you in case of emergency. So that is the next thing that I would suggest be trained. Earlier you had asked like how long I think more complicated tricks can take, and those can take weeks, months, whatever. And you have to kind of gauge your ferret on, are they frustrated? Are they moving forward like at all? You kind of have to judge it. Like some tricks I just stop. I'm like, okay, not getting it, no problem, move on.
What do you think about potty training? I know we're not going to get too much into potty training in this video, but like literally I'm just asking for me, like where does that rank on the difficulty one? Because I mean, I have a video on potty training, and I've had ferrets be really successful, and I'm trying to remember how long it took them to understand what the heck I wanted.
Joey pretty much was litter trained by his breeder before I got him. I didn't really have to train him much at all. He also got his Deslorelin, which is chemical castration. He got his much earlier than Simon, which makes a difference as well. Simon took a little bit longer. He's still in the cage. The breeder already took care of that. I got him. He's never messed up in his cage since I've had him. It did take a while outside of the cage. I would say, I don't know, maybe a couple months with him, but he was not altered for the first year that I had him. So that makes it a little bit more challenging. Most, martial ferrets and ferrets you'll adopt, most will already be altered. So
yeah,
it's really about consistency, making sure you're doing the same thing. If you have multiple people in your household, that everybody's doing the same thing, and that you're available to monitor what they're doing, because you can tell when they're going to pee or poop. They raise that tail and back up most of the time. So,
because I'll find them like put up their tails, in a random spot, and I'm like, really? I thought we went over this. And so I'll pick them up and put them in the proper area. Is that what you would recommend? I mean, I literally don't know what else to do because I'm like, please don't poop there.
Yes, if you catch them in the act, pick them up, put them in the box. Yay! Like, even if they've already got it on the carpet, like, whatever. Put it in the box. Yay! Because we just want to associate that box and going to the box as something amazing. And you can even say box. Like, I did that with Simon, and so sometimes if we're going to go take him somewhere, I'll say box, point, and we'll sometimes go. So I associated a word with it.
Yeah.
So it's really that simple, but I know it's frustrating for people, but you just can't get mad. They're a little bitty animal that doesn't know what you want.
If they're watching this video and they're like, oh my gosh, she does incredible things with her ferrets, I want to do those things, and they also have a reasonable idea of how difficult it is, how it takes time and stuff, but they're like, I'm in it, I want to start, like, what should they do? Like, if they're like, I have a full day tomorrow and I want to like get into this stuff, like, are there specific videos on your channel that I can link to that they should watch first? Should they buy a certain thing? What should their first session look like? Like, if they're like, I'm ready, I'm doing it.
Okay, so I would say to get a clicker. Clickers are in the dog training aisle of most pet stores. They're not very expensive. Some people will say, well, can I use my voice? Well, you can, but voices aren't as consistent as a clicker, so I prefer clickers personally, but if you want to use a word such as yes, you can do that as well, as long as it's consistent. Consistent is the most important thing in training. So I would start with that, get some sort of marker, and yes, I have tons of videos on training. I would say start with my clicker training series when Simon was a baby. It goes through all the steps. Start with that, get an idea about clicker training. Then the first thing I would do with your ferret is put them like in a small area and, charge the clicker. Click it, give them something they really like. And I would do that after they've played and they're a little bit hungry. So make sure that they will be a little bit food motivated. I know people have a hard time with ferrets and food motivation, but if you time it right and you wait till they're a little hungry, we're not talking about starving them. We're just saying, like, after they've played and they haven't had food for a while, then you can click, give them something they like. And that could be their regular food. It doesn't have to be some super special thing, and you want it to be healthy. You don't want to be training them and feeding them with stuff that could potentially give them insulinoma or like something later in life. So find something that motivates them that is healthy.
Got it. And I think you said this before, but the first ones you probably teach after you've charged the clicker is the standing up and the rolling over, right?
Those are the easiest ones to start with. And people get excited because it's like, oh, they're getting it. You want the ferret.
That's good, and that's a good feeling.
You want the ferret to also, feel good and like, oh, I'm getting it. It's just as important for them to feel confident in what you want because, again, the chemistry example, who wants to go to a class you don't understand? It doesn't make sense to you. Nobody. They're just going to run off. And don't take it personally if they do run off in the beginning anyway because they're ferrets, and that's what they do.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
Awesome. Okay, so a couple questions I got about training ferrets. A few people said, is my ferret too old to learn tricks? How do you feel about that?
No.
Like they're not a baby anymore. No?
It's fine. They can learn. It's no problem.
Good. And then the other one was maybe my ferret has the wrong personality because their personalities do differ. That's true. But is there any truth to that where like he won't. He's too bonkers. He's too weird. He can't learn. Is that a thing?
Well, if he's bonkers, maybe exercise him prior to training because ferrets we know sleep a lot. So don't expect a ferret to want to do training when they've been locked up in their cage for however many hours or, in their room for a long time and they want to play. Let them play. Let them get that energy out and then try to train. So I would say it's about timing and when to do it more than personality. And, there are tricks that I've tried with Simon that he just doesn't get. And it's totally fine to just say, okay, let's try something else or maybe come back to it. It's really not about what they learn. It's about the bonding of training. I just love to train. So YouTube, Facebook, no YouTube, Facebook, I don't care. I'm going to be training my ferret. I want to show the world that ferrets are intelligent because when I first got a ferret, I was greeted with a lot of negativity. Like, why'd you get a ferret? They smell. And there was just no positivity there. And it really upset me. And I just thought, these are smart, amazing creatures. And I want to show people that. And I figured that if people could relate ferrets to maybe a dog that can learn tricks, then maybe they will respect ferrets a little bit more. And I have been told so many times, oh, I never thought ferrets could do that. And that brings me so much joy because I'm like, yes, they're smart. They need to be respected as pets. And so that's what drives me to do what I do.
I can definitely relate to that, obviously, with why I started the Modern Ferret. A big reason, which I told you earlier, was it was like I got a ferret. And then the same thing as you experienced, people were like, aren't they gross? Aren't they smelly? Aren't they negative? And I'm just like, man, that's like, it's kind of harsh, like it's just like a fuzzy animal. Like why you have so many negative opinions about it? And then all this time I would spend at home with Moose, my first ferret. He was like the most affectionate, animal I've ever had. He was so bonded to me, so smart, like you're talking about, that I think literally the first reason for starting the Modern Ferret was like, I kept calling it like a PR campaign for ferrets. Because it was like, I don't know who covered their PR before, but they sucked. Like, it was bad. It was really bad. And now it's like, I don't want any more like red eye pictures where they're like, the teeth are out, they're all haggard and gross. I want, like, Simon's so beautiful with his big eyes. Like, they're beautiful animals. The fact that they use these animals for hunting, like, these are not some like trivial, like, they're legit. This is like a legit animal, you know? So I totally relate with that. So I think that's incredible. That is awesome.
We're teaming up to take over the world and tell people how.
Here we go. Courtney, where can people find you? Where can they find all these extremely helpful training resources that go through all the steps, all the supplies, everything you need to know? Where can they find all that?
Okay, so my YouTube channel and Facebook page are called the Trained Ferret, so you can find us there.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on my channel, Courtney. I had a blast talking to you. And if anybody would like Courtney to come back on the channel to talk about more things related to ferrets and training, please let me know in the comment section. I will leave all of Courtney's social links in the description below. And until next time. All right. Bye.
Thank you.
Tell me if you guys enjoyed this interview format, because this is the first one ever, and I chose Courtney because we actually talked behind the scenes, so I wasn't as nervous with her. But you guys like this interview idea for some of the videos? And if so, do you want me to bring Courtney back on to talk about more things? What things would those be? And then can you guys suggest other like famous, important, notable people in the ferret community that I could interview? That would be really cool.
Come here, Simon. Gonna play a song for Haley? Come here. Play. Yes, again. Good boy. Beautiful. One more. Play. Oh, nice. Oh, we're gonna flip it. All right, all done. Is everything okay?
I ate the rest of, while you were gone, I ate the rest of my treats. I hope that's
okay. We're done training. You're all good.
Okay, good.